This is the future.
Before we start this video, I would just like to give a quick update regarding my journey of obtaining 1 million platinum in the game. From 7k plus platinum, I got 10k plus right now, and that is about a week of grinding. I attained this with the help of different methods which you can check out in my 1 million platinum playlist, link is at the video description below. There, you will see all my journey, and as well as tips and tricks on what are the things I do to obtain free platinum in the game. Next, let me give a few disclaimer before we dive into the video. First of all, I would just like to say that all the things you see and hear in this video are purely based on my opinion. You may have a different opinion, so feel free to speak out in the comment section below. The Warframes listed in here are the ones that I enjoyed playing for months this year, and I was kind of surprised how enjoyable they are right now. Some got buffs, others got an awesome synergy, and other are just pure old but gold Warframes. So, let me give you my top 10 best Warframes for the year 2023. By the way, this video is subject to change in the future as we will definitely get more Warframes this year, but for now, let's talk about those who I enjoyed playing the most currently. Beginning with Hildryn, or should I say, Hildryn Prime. Without a doubt, players are playing Hildryn right now, especially that her Prime version came out recently. Her Prime version is one of the best looking Prime Warframes in the game, and it's really a must-have for all Warframe players. You really just can't badmouth the Prime variant of Hildryn as aesthetically, it's really cool and the details look really sick. The best part is, Hildryn is actually a great choice for solo steel path runs and other missions in the game. Her kit is built to survive and kill enemies fast. With her pillage, you can actually abuse the shield gating mechanic, and in fact, Hildryn has one of the most broken shield gating mechanic in the game. Hildryn's shield gating grace period is 3 seconds when fully charged, rather than the usual 1.3. This passive is shared with ally Warframes and companions when linked via Haven. Reset is dependent on the ally's own shield bar being fully replenished once protected by invulnerability. Also, you may have read about this, but you don't know how to benefit from it while using Hildryn. In the tips and tricks tab of Hildryn, you will see that when you have an overshield, your health values will not get affected by any status effect such as heat or /procs. However, there's a secret mechanic to this that many Warframe players are not aware of. This does pairs well with the combat discipline and arcane avenger trick. Once you have overshield values, your health won't go down if you kill an enemy and proc combat discipline, hence you get an unlimited and safe proc for arcane avenger. Long story short, it's like free plus critical for your weapons all the time when you use this synergy with Hildryn. But squad leader, I'm always dying with Hildryn, even if I'm spamming her pillage like crazy. In normal levels, you won't feel the need to spam pillage, as with adaptation, the shields of Hildryn are more than enough to mitigate the damage. But in steel path levels, it's totally a different playing field as enemies hit harder. Eventually, the spamming of pillage is inevitable, but to tell you the truth, in steel path levels, especially when playing solo, just spamming the ability won't keep you alive. That is why most of the time, I advise subsuming Gloom into Hildryn to somehow mitigate some damage. Enemies that get slowed by Gloom can't perform any movement like shooting sometimes, as they will die before they can even aim. But there are instances also that Gloom is not enough, and this can be fixed by another crowd control tactics, and that is by using Blazing Pillage in your build. This augment mod doesn't just let you gain shield even if enemies have no armor or shield, but it does proc heat, which does crowd control enemies for a bit. But, in the case of Hildryn, she can literally spam pillage and make it permanent crowd control. But here's the catch, you must activate Haven also, so now, you have two ability drains. One Island Gloom and another Island Haven. That is why most of the time, I suggest not going with Blind Rage on this build and slap Arcane Aegis in there, and as well as some additional shield with the help of the Blue Argent Shards. You can't be killed if you just spam pillage anyway. Another great build for Hildryn is an Electric Elemental Ward Hildryn, which is basically the best return damage build right now in the game. The crowd control of this build is insane, and this is the ultimate pillage spammer build, as when you cast Elemental Ward, and add Haven if you like, with the Blazing Pillage ability to somehow proc heat also, then all you need to do is spam pillage over and over again and watch the enemies die. Next, we have Grendel. This Warframe is really fun to play with right now with the recent rework done by Pablo with this Warframe. His feast ability got no energy problem right now, but some players did not like that Digital Extremes get rid that mechanic wherein we can munch a couple of enemies. For me, I think that it's great right now as the energy drain is completely annoying. The drain is just too much and it's not worth the benefit at all. Right now, you only need 5 enemies in Grendel's Gut to gain the max armor bonus, and instead of Feast being the only interesting ability for Grendel, it is now some sort of activation ability wherein it's needed to make his other abilities work. It's now like bullets for his ultimate ability, which is Regurgitate, and it's really fun to use his ultimate now, as not only does it spit toxin but it can actually strip armor, which makes the toxin damage even better. Another thing that I like is that they haven't changed the meatball skill. Instead, they added a couple of mechanics wherein if you hit an enemy, it will strip their armor, plus, the healing of this ability is super effective for Grendel. And lastly, the Nourish ability is now broken as it doesn't just ramp up the energy gain from abilities, energy orbs, or even mods like Hunter Adrenaline, but it also procs viral damage, which is insane for the Toxin kit of Grendel. Not to mention that as a subsume ability, it creates pretty crazy combos. The next Warframe that I enjoy the most playing right now is Jaya. I know most of you will tell me that this Warframe lacks survivability, but use her as Q-Brow on her, or the new Shade Prime, and that will take care of her survivability issues. Digital Extremes became creative with this Warframe as this is the first that actual deals red crit abilities. The red crit electric damage that Jaya deals to a group of targets is really glorious to see. I can't tell you much fun I have in Steel Path Survivals using just abilities to deal red crit damage while just using abilities. But why did you replace her grouping ability with Ensnare? I don't get it, as it does the same thing, correct, but Ensnare is much better as it affects Steel Path acolytes. With a Hera's Q-Brow or Shade in hand, all I need to do is cast Ensnare, maintain her 3rd and 4th, and just recast her first ability when needed. Pretty crazy red crit electric nuke power. Moving on, I also enjoyed the rework that Digital Extremes did with Mag. It just made this starter frame even better and no one can say that Mag is trash right now. A couple of notable things that Digital Extremes did with the Warframe is that her passive no longer requires you to bullet jump to pull pickups towards her, so it's free vacuum always with Mag. Pull now creates a mini vortex when casting, which gathers enemies in front of Mag. Polarized shards on the ground will also be pulled into this vortex. In terms of the helm length, they changed Mag's pull to now have diminished range when infused. It was 25 meters at max, now 12.5 meters. Magnetize also receive lots of changes. Shards from Polarize are pulled into the Magnetize bubble, including shards orbiting Mag. Charged Magnetize absorb shards increase its damage by 500 for each one. Scales with ability strength mods increased the angle of protective cast from 80 to 120 degrees across all ranks. Unified range value across all ranks, 15 meters for explosion radius, 4 meters for bubble radius. Unified protective cast absorption multiplier across all ranks to 2 times. Also, Polarize got some pretty respectable buffs. Shards are now significantly larger and hover above the ground, making them much easier to see. Shards within 3 meters of Mag now orbit her, inflicting the slasher puncture status effect to nearby enemies. Unified range and duration across all ranks to 8 meters and 5 seconds respectively. And lastly, Crusher now has a unified range across all ranks to 18 meters. They also made adjustments to Mag's Augment Fracturing Crush. In the past, survivors have their armor decreased by 50% and become unable to move for 7 seconds, but now, Augment Functions was unchanged, but the casting speed is increased by 50%, which makes it solid not only for stripping armor, but also for abusing the shield gating mechanic. Overall, they made this caster Warframe insane, and with a mean max build, you now survive, nuke, and see lots of dead bodies in the ground with Mag. Perfect for a starter Warframe, right? Next, I want to talk about the new Warframe Varuna. The Condition Overload Goddess is such an amazing Warframe to use in Steel Path levels and beyond. A melee Condition Overload Varuna can slap hard that it can even melt the highest level enemies in the game. Her second ability, Fangs of Raksh, is an absolute madness as it doesn't just inflict multiple status in a target, making it easier to kill with a Condition Overload melee, but it also allows you to spread the status effect on nearby enemies after death of the target. it somehow works like the mecha mod set, and, despite the fact that Voranu already have a solid survivability setup with Shroud of Dyna, I just love using this Warframe with a mecha set mod as it's very effective. Almost every time, I proc the effect of the mecha mods, nuking a room with DOT procs, and gaining tons of armor percentage bonus. Truly, Vorana is one of the powerful Warframes you can try for Steel Path levels and beyond. Moving on, I also enjoyed playing Mesa this year. Well, I always enjoy Mesa with a Peacemaker build as it's the ultimate aimbot experience in Warframe, and with the new circuit mission coming in Duviri Paradox, I think players will be pleased to see if Mesa will be in their Warframe selection screen. She's just built different, as she can almost do everything efficiently except for spy missions. Her fourth ability makes any tasks that involves killing and defending pretty easy. However, I did not enjoy Mesa because of the Peacemaker build this year, as there's a more devastating combo that this Warframe can do right now. Her first ability is busted right now. Ballistic Bullseye, which is Mesa's first ability augment that gives shots enhanced by ballistic battery increased critical chance, has been buffed to the point that you can red crit nuke with some weapons right now, and you can actually make zero crit weapons do critical hits. The ability does scale with power strength, and right now, I'm sitting at 127% power strength with the help of these power strength mods, plus the 3 Talforged Red Argent Shards Wix gives out 15% ability strength each. This critical chance buff will be higher if I will complete the Talforged Shards, and as well as I have the max stack of Melt augmented, not to mention that it adds up with Arcane Avendia, and maybe just maybe, I will get to that point wherein I will reach red crit on weapons that don't even have critical stats. However, it's only for a select weapons though, and most of them are nuker weapons such as Brahma, but the best for this the Cedo. The alternate fire of this shotgun allows fast stacking of the critical buff, and once you shot the disc with the ballistic bullseye buff, it will do insane damage to enemies that it can literally one-shot everything it hits. I'm farming shards at the moment, and hoping to show you the final build for this Mesa soon. Another Warframe that I enjoyed playing this year is Styanax. More specifically, Styanax with Grendel's Nourish subsume into the Warframe. The reworked Nourish completes Styanax as it doesn't just proc viral to increase the damage of his ultimate ability, but it also synergies well with his rally point that gives infinite energy, allowing you to spam his ultimate and all you need to do is press 4 to win. Also, there's an unwritten synergy that makes the damage of his fourth ability better. Many would suggest that you would want to subsume Roar in this ability so that the bleed procs will double dip, but all you need really is the viral procs from Nourish to deal massive damage to health, and then equip the Arcane Avenger mod in Styanax. It looks like Arcane Avenger does proc with Styanax final stand ability, and the increase in critical chance does allow the bleed procs to scale. Truly, this Warframe is a press 4 to win right now. Okay, most of the Warframes I have mentioned are fun because of their powerful synergies. I usually use these Warframes if I just want to sit back and enjoy killing enemies in Steel Path and beyond. But the next two Warframes doesn't just give enjoyment, but also benefits, as these Warframes allows me to farm stuff that I need in the game, especially Platinum. Now, I have been talking about Platinum in most of my videos right now, but honestly, this is the one that keep my playing Warframe right now until Duviri Paradox hits. Farming Platinum is kind of addicting for me right now, and I'm truly grateful that these two Warframes are helping me out in getting as much Platinum as I want. The first Warframe is Necros. Truly the ultimate farmer in Warframe, as this Warframe helps me in farming resources I need to craft the items that I need to sell in Warframe.market. I enjoy playing this Warframe the most when I discovered that the Amalgam Ripker's True Steel mod doesn't just work on weapons, but also abilities such as Thermal Sunder. So basically, the idea is to nuke enemies with the heat Thermal Sunder, and everything that dies from the heat procs will be cut in half or dismembered if you have the Ripkers equipped with its Amalgam mod. This then trigger the Desecrate ability, giving you lots of loot in no time. I call this the Nuke Farmer Necros, and this is why I'm loving the Warframe so much right now. I did put up a guide recently, detailing all the abilities and the things needed to make this synergy work, so, if you have a couple of minutes to spare, then I really advise that you check out the detailed guide right after this video. Just go click the link with the video description below. And lastly, well, most of you would know this, and it's the upcoming As Prime, Wisp. I have been having so much fun playing Wisp for a couple of months now. At first, I was enjoying Wisp with a Breach Surge setup only coupled with the Exodia Contagion Saw. It was hell of fun as you can reach about 2 billion damage with this setup. Sadly, Digital Extremes changed Wisp's Breach Surge to apply multiplier before the cap to fix the ability, resulting in billions of damage. Currently it adds 100 damage up to 5 million cap, then multiplies by multiplier times power strength. Now, it adds 100 damage, times multiplier, times power strength up to 5 million cap. Did not get the idea? Well, to make it short, no more 2 billion damage with Eclipse, Breach Surge and Exodia Contagion. However, I was really surprised that it did not matter to players nerfing Breach Surge and Wisp stayed in the top and beloved by players. I was curious, and think for a second there that we players really just dig the asset of Wisp, but this is not the case though. Many players enjoy Wisp because it's great when it comes to team composition, especially in farming prime parts. Her motes is really great for survivability, fire rate and speed, not to mention that you can use the shock motes in choke points to stun lock targets. The motes can also be paired with elite crew members while using the on-call crew, and this can be used for AFK farming, and as well as killing steel path bosses. Best of all, if that ability strength and range buff from cracking relics hits, the buff of the motes becomes insane. And, did I mention that the motes has infinite duration? You just leave it there and just go to it whenever you need health regen, speed, attack rate, fire rate, or even some electric buff. Aside from that, she can also be supported with Breach Surge, which gives you insane damage buff, and as well as crowd control. Not to mention that Will-O-Wisp can be used as a quick escape or some sort of safety net to gather loot in farming. It's not just loved by players who enjoy farming, but also those players that aren't modded well just yet. The extra buff is so sweet, and I think this is one of the important things that Wisp adds to the table, making her one of the best Warframes in the game. For special mentions, I would say I'm also enjoying Revenant, Titania and Limbo in terms of farming Archon hunts. Limbo with Resonator just makes almost all defense mission in Archon hunts easy, while Titania does the same thing with her lantern, but she also got the mobility to move from one place to another. And lastly, I often use Revenant as the primary Archon hunter because of his insane survivability with Mesmer skin. All I need to do is pair that with Raw, and a good Archon hunting weapon like the Felix, and it will be easy for me to solo any Archons and get that sweet Tau Forged shard. Just like I have said, the lists you see here are purely based on my gameplay in Warframe, and these are the frames I like playing the most this year. Now, I would also want to know what Warframes are you enjoying the most in the game right now? Let us discuss in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.